I think it's a really, really interesting thing to consider. Who am I going to do this with? I'm going to do psychedelics. Who am I going to do it with? Am I going to sit with my partner? Am I going to sit with a friend? Am I going to do it alone? There are three specific ranges of doses with psychedelics. And if you're doing under 350 milligrams, it's therapeutic, it's microdosing. And obviously, you don't need anyone to sit with you for that. That's something that you're going to do on a regular basis. I myself, I don't know, I suppose I microdose probably once a week. But from 350 milligrams up to 3.5 grams, that range is what I call recreational. And that too, I think that people can get a lot of insight from it. They can even do that in a very ceremonial and ritualistic way, and do that to go inside themselves. But I don't think necessarily they need someone to sit with them. They don't need a guide. But above 3.5 grams, which would be considered a mega dose, or above 5 grams, which is what Terence McKenna coined as a hero's dose, I strongly advise that you have someone sit with you, that holds space with you. And so the person that I think that you should look towards, or the attributes that that person should have, is I think that they should probably have some experience. I think that they should probably be able to do some light facilitation. And I think that they should be able to have some gravity. They should be able to hold space, to be able to, when you get wobbly, they don't get wobbly. They, when you get kind of scared or freaked out, they don't get scared and freaked out. And they can say to you, I got you, you're coming back, drift out as far as you need to go, and have a good time, or explore, or, do whatever it is in there you need to do. But I think it's important that you trust the person. I think that having a rapport and having some sense that you feel safe is really, really important. Someone that has your best interest in mind. The most common negative side effects of psilocybin, or taking psychedelic mushrooms, is that it's going to cause you to have an upset stomach. It can create some type of a destabilized, emotional or psychological state. You'll come back from that, you'll be fine. But those two things, physically and then emotionally, are the two things that are very, very common. I think that fear, it can provoke a fair amount of fear in people, because we're going into the unknown. And the unknown and uncertainty provokes that in most people. Something that's become more and more important in my practice is knowing that not all psychedelic mushrooms are the same. And so one of the things that I believe separates my practice and my approach from other people's, I no longer measure off of the weight of the biomass. 5 grams of one strain is not the same as 5 grams of another. And I've used a lot of different strains for a long time now, and explored and wondered and tried to see and experiment, are there different properties to different strains? Similar to cannabis, like there's some pretty distinct differences between indica and sativa. And so far, what I've come to is that there aren't any properties or energies that are different in psychedelic mushrooms. What is the biggest difference that I think is important to account for, or at least to consider, is that the potency is different from strain to strain. I've seen some of them and heard of some of them that are as potent as 6%. Take that and then compare that to another strain, which is 1%, which is the standard, 1% psychoactive compound. So the difference between 6% and 1% in 5 grams of psychedelic mushrooms, that you would have 50 milligrams of psychoactive compound. So you have a difference between 50 and 300 milligrams. And that's really, really big. But even the difference between 1% and 1.5% is significant. The difference between 1% and, let's say, 0.75 or 0.63% potency is going to be a completely different experience. especially if someone is expecting to take 50 milligrams, which would be a hero dose, and it ends up that they only have about 30 milligrams of psychoactive compound, which to me is under the threshold of a megadose. And plenty of times that we get in here, we get prepared, and we start the ritual, and we take the mushrooms, and then nothing happens. Because sometimes the potency is 0.18%, 0.018%. And so not all mushrooms are the same.